Hi, welcome back. This is Deborah Peters and my podcast, Neuroscience for Success, with this new series, The Journey of the Mastery of Your Mind. And all the way from Great Britain is my co-host, Richard Daniel Curtis. We're shooting this on a Monday, and it's been a crazy day so far for both of us.
And you've forgotten where I come from already.
I was trying to think, like, are you okay? So I was thinking Coventry. Is that correct? That's where you're at right now?
Currently, yeah, in a town called Dudley near Coventry.
Coventry. So the reason I was hesitating is I kept thinking Covent Gardens in London. I know, and I'm like,
I have so many business meetings in Covent Gardens because you can hear the street musicians. It's outside the Royal Opera House. Absolutely gorgeous, really inspirational place. Yeah, I had loads of business meetings in Covent Gardens.
I love Covent Gardens. I've stayed there many times. I've done seminars, and there's a really great conference space there that I've used. And so that's what the little like delay. I know. I'm like, okay, Coventry, Covent Gardens. Where is he? So in any event, welcome aboard. Good to see you. I hope you had a lovely weekend. And I'm sorry to hear you have a bit of a head cold. Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, well, I have to say, started off as it's a Saturday, loads of social time. Sunday, woke up really bad sore throat. I was like, oh my goodness me, what's going on? What's going on? Took some painkillers, I'll be all right. I just ignored it and I actually did a full day's worth of filming for a course on mental health on Sunday. Got home, woke up this morning, nose is full, headache, and I needed to spend the day helping a leadership team with some cultural change in their organisation. So I've just kind of ploughed on through. So here I am in my hotel. I've now had a swim. I've now had a steam room. I'm feeling a little bit better. As soon as we finish, I'm off to go get some food, and then I'll be honest with you, that'll be it.
You're crashing. You're crashing. I know. You know, when I was there in January and I did that seminar for British Marine and the UKTI, I think I shared this with you. So like the night before, I seemed fine till about 3 in the morning, and I woke up and I had some kind of stomach flu, and didn't go back to bed until 8, and then I was on at noon. So I basically did the entire afternoon seminar. I don't know how I got through it, but you know, the show must go on. What are you going to say? You can't really call in sick when you have your own business. So there you go. Well, I'm glad we're here. And today we're going to talk about judgment and how judgment can work for you and how judgment can actually work against you. And so, you know, there's a lot of judgment that goes on in the world. And I think we oftentimes see the negative and the repercussions of coming from a place of judgment. But judgment can also be really good. You know, judgment can be good for making evaluations, for discernment. I mean, Richard, you know, judgment is really the key, especially with teens, and being able to come into a situation and to be able to access good judgment. I'm sure you see that a great deal.
Yes, I mean, it's really interesting you talk about that because there is something called choice theory that explains many of the decisions that we make, where actually we have in our heads a world that we live in. This is our belief of how we are. So many of the decisions that we make are the ones that fit into our belief of how we are. Now, when you're doing transformational change, like you and I do in different respects, then what you need to do is you need to change that vision of how people see themselves so that when they make a choice, they're making the choice towards the new them, not the old them. And this is no different when you look at even things like dieting behavior. What the way that we act towards going to the gym, doing workouts and changing our diet is we tend to go towards what we've always known, what we've always done, whereas actually the whole point, and this is where a PT holds you accountable, is you're developing you to the new you, and actually you're making choices that fit in with the new you, not the old you.
So what you're saying is that it really comes down to patterns. It's the patterns that we have in our thinking that actually can cloud our judgment. So I can see that, I can see that with the business clients. We coach a lot of companies. Actually, right now, we're coaching this really amazing company that's in the renewable energy space. And that's one of the main areas that I work with the leadership team about is, where is this decision coming from? Where is this judgment coming from? Is it coming from a pain driver that's got you trying to get away from not wanting to repeat an experience that you've had? Or is it coming from a pleasure driver, which is moving you towards some kind of measurable, tangible, desired outcome? And when I explain it to them that way, it helps, even that increases their choice. And isn't that really what it's all about? Life is about consistently increasing your choice. If what you're doing is decreasing choice, if it's contracting, then that judgment is blocking you. And you can feel it in your body, right? I can. Like, if I'm making a judgment based on my own fear or inadequacy, like this perception of inadequacy, then I can feel that. That's, how can I say this differently? So let's say we judge someone based on how they look, for example. So we can look at someone and we can judge someone based on how they look. And but that judgment can only come from our own feelings of inadequacy if we're making a negative judgment. And so what that does then is it actually amplifies within us our own feelings of inadequacy, right?
Absolutely. Do you ever muscle test when you're making decisions?
Yes, I do, which is a very powerful tool. Tell our viewers about that.
Right, so there's slightly different ways of doing muscle testing. The way that I would do muscle testing, and it literally is what it says on the tin. It's testing your muscles as to whether you're answering yes or no to a question. The way that I do it is I will stand up. I'm going to have a go now, see if I can do it. So I will stand up, legs shoulder width apart, knees slightly bent. I'll do, maybe I'll say a couple of affirmations or something to get myself in the mode, and I'll say, for example, should I stop talking? If you lean forwards, your body's telling you yes. If you lean backwards, your body's telling you no. At that moment in time, just so you know, I lean back. So it's quite handy, really. On the other hand, I could ask, does Deborah know what I'm talking about? My body leans forward. And so you're using your body to test your subconscious, because your subconscious knows an awful lot more than your conscience does.
Yes, that's brilliant. And so one of the ways that I do it is, you can do this test, right?
Yeah.
Test. But the thing that we want to tell the viewers is, before you ask the question, whichever, like if you're going to use the standing test, which is fantastic, it's especially if you're in a room with a group of people and you're networking and you're talking to people, it's going to be a very easy thing to do physiologically. But the point I want to make is you got to kind of set the frame for doing that kind of testing with a calibration process. So you have to first ask yourself, show me a yes, right? And if you lean forward, then that's the yes. And then you can go neutral, and then you can say, okay, thank you, show me a no. And then if you lean backwards, then that will confirm that that's how a no will reveal itself through your physiology. And because it might be different, it might be reversed, whatever the case is, doing that little calibration first is the key to setting up the exercise. So when I do this one, where I just kind of loop my fingers together. I ask, okay, show me a yes, and then I pull, and I feel the amount of tension that's there. And then I release, neutral, right? And then I go back and I say, okay, show me a no, and then I can feel that level of tension. And that tells me how to calibrate a no. So
Have you?
I'm so glad you brought this up, because it's a great tool for people to have.
It's amazing. Have you ever used it for allergies?
I don't get allergies.
Okay, well, so obviously, I'm sure the listeners know that I'm a really, really bad expert. And what you can do is you can use kinesiology to test for allergies, and it's almost the same. The difference is going to be that you're going to hold whatever it is. Well, first of all, hold your hand against your stomach, put your arm out, and get someone to push the arm down. You should be able to resist it.
Okay.
So someone shouldn't be able to push your arm down in that position. Then get something that you're allergic to. I haven't got anything here, strangely enough, that I'm allergic to. And do this. So you hold whatever you think you might be allergic to against your stomach. Put your arm out and see if that person can push your arm down. If they can push your arm down, then you're allergic to it.
I think you're allergic to your hotel room.
It does need a second person, otherwise it's just a crazy man waving his arm around.
Right, I know, with his hand on his stomach. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
what's going on? Yeah. Yeah, this is a great kinesiology. It's a fantastic tool. I use it when I buy supplements. It's a great way to know not only if the supplement is what my body needs, but also how much of the supplement I need. So, when you start playing with that, you can pretty much, and eventually I think what ends up happening, at least for me, is I started to develop, without even having to do the testing, just a heightened self-awareness of what that food or that circumstance or that supplement or whatever the case is, how that's going to impact me without even having to do the muscle testing. But until you get to that place and you develop that awareness, then yeah, definitely it's fantastic. But we were talking about judgment, so I want to just kind of circle back around on that point. And in NLP, when I took my master training certificate in NLP, we spent years learning the meta model. And if you're a viewer that doesn't know NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and you're not familiar with the meta model, I would recommend that you just look it up online, because it's a great way to understand our behavior and how our behavior comes to be, and then how we project those filters. We filter life through generalizations, distortions, and deletions. So we generalize concepts, we distort concepts, and we delete concepts. It's just part of being a human being. And so within the meta model is a concept called nominalization. And the idea of nominalization is that judgment is actually a nominalization. Now, that can be good and useful, and it can be negative and detrimental. So when is it good and useful? Well, it's good and useful when we're discerning something, when we're comparing, the contrast, like, okay, I know what I don't want, so therefore I know what I do want. Like, we getting that clarity on our life and our preferences and the things that we enjoy. And it helps us evaluate, it helps us make decisions. However, where that nominalization becomes an issue is that it actually freezes us in time. Like, all judgment freezes us in time. And let me explain. So when we make a judgment on something within ourselves, we look at something external or something in our lives or something within ourselves. Like, let's say you are feeling particularly bloated and uncomfortable on a particular day, and women can relate to this. Okay, that's why I'm using this example. And you're like, okay, I feel yucky, I feel bloated, and you've got an event to go to, and it's like you need to go put on those skinny jeans or that fabulous dress, but you don't feel it, you're not feeling it. So you kind of like, what happens is your mind freezes that judgment in time, and it's like you become it. So even if you dress up and go out and people go, oh my God, you look so fabulous, you can't really take that in because you've blocked that with your nominalization. You've blocked it with your judgment. And then it kind of becomes pervasive, and it bleeds into other perceptions that you have of yourself if you don't know how to identify it and realize that it really was nothing to begin with. It was just a brief moment in the day, and it's not the rest of your life, but it can bleed into more decision making and more, in that particular case, more around, you know, the relationship that you have with your body, for example. And so that can happen in all kinds of relationships. You know, you have, let's say in business, you have a business failure. And so you make this judgment about yourself, and you make this judgment about business, and then you freeze that judgment in time, and it becomes a thing that you keep projecting forward, and that actually blocks you from seeing all of the amazing opportunities that exist around you. And so I have a tool for shifting that, but first I want you to weigh in on that concept, Richard, before I share that tool.
What's really interesting, because I will often talk about simplifying and reducing the number of judgments that we have to make at any one time in our day. You know, the classic person would be Mark Zuckerberg. If you look at Mark Zuckerberg's clothes, he basically, in his day-to-day working life, has a wardrobe of one thing: t-shirt, jeans. That's it. You know, and they all match. He's taken decisions out of that. Life is so complex. There are so many things happening. There are so many decisions that we have to make. Actually, when it comes to it, if there's things that you can just, you know, just not have to think about, not need to make a decision about, fantastic. It frees you up a little bit inside.
Truly does. And I like what you're saying here, because that old to-do list is probably the biggest hurdle that will block you from achieving your most treasured, desired outcomes in life, because it distracts you.
It causes procrastination.
Say that again.
It causes procrastination.
Causes procrastination. Yeah, it's just this long, overrun inner dialogue that keeps hitting on the same points over and over and over. You know, my favorite way of, my tool that I wanted to share with everyone, my favorite way of getting past judgment is just to ask a high-level question that's open-ended. You know, like my favorite is, what else is possible? What else is possible? So here I am, I'm looking at something or someone, and I'm projecting judgment. And rather than, you know, try to rein all that in and shift that, I just ask a different question, like, well, what else is possible? So if you're a business owner, or you're in a relationship, or you're going into a negotiation, or, you know, you're not feeling well physically, you can just ask yourself the question, well, what else is possible? If I'm here now, and this is a nominalization, and I have frozen this concept in time, and it's become a thing so that it's causing me, or I think, or I'm perceiving it as causing me to feel stuck, then just ask a question. What else is possible? And see how that completely dissolves that blocking energy and enables you to shift.
Exactly. It's a bit like I'm saying, reflecting on that, and I'm listening to you talking, and I'm thinking about how sometimes when we're faced with difficult problems or complex situations and all the rest of it, and our mind's going, but we've just lost the contract, or but this has happened. And I was just sat here reflecting on how actually it's really useful to, in your head, say something like, this has happened, but that means duh.
Yeah, that's good, because then you open up to allow in something else.
Yes,
Instead of just saying, well, this has happened, so this is where I am. And my argument is, well, this has happened because that's where you were.
yes,
It happened because the precursor to that was you were in some kind of place within yourself that was limiting in some fashion, and therefore this, let's say in this case, it's a loss of a contract. This loss of contract presents itself, and it's like, okay, but this isn't where I'm going. This is just a product of where I was. So what else is possible?
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Now, how are we doing time-wise?
I think we're pretty much a wrap, really.
I've just looked at the clock, and I think we're running over already.
Oh, probably.
It feels like
So
we've just started.
I know. It's because we have so much fun doing this. And
I know, I love it every time. It's just amazing.
so our viewers, just, something that's coming up is we're going to do something on customer service. And
Sorry, so we've both got some great stories lined up. Um, um, Sorry, I'm chuckling because, oh my goodness me, you have no. It took me 5 months to get internet access in our new office, which is in an existing business centre, because of poor customer service from 3 different companies.
it's unbelievable. And so I'm sure everyone can relate, and everyone has horror stories of customer service experiences that they've had. And so we're going to do at least one episode on that. And I can hardly contain myself because I have a couple doozies that I've experienced in the last 48 hours that are just like mind blowing, like, wow. So yeah, stay tuned. So thank you for sharing, and thank you for liking, and thank you for commenting. And before I sign off, what's your one, Richard?
My one is take time, take when faced with a difficult judgment, a difficult decision, something like that. Take the time to think of an alternative, of a but to
I
that.
like that. I like that. I'm going to concur on that and say, just really do take your time. You might have someone pressuring you, or you might think that if you don't, if you, bottom line is, if you're making this decision from fear, then you're gonna feel like it's pressure. If you're making a decision and you know what you need to do, or you know what you want to do, by all means, ask for what you want. Ask for what you want, because it's in the honoring of yourself and the asking for what you want that you discover what else is possible. So that's my one. So have a fantastic week ahead, everyone. I know you've got some big stuff going on your side of the pond. So good job. Congratulations. Very proud of you. Love working with you. And thank you, everyone. Keep tuning in, keep subscribing, keep liking, keep sharing, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.